Welcome to the All-Star Athlete Podcast, your guide to mastering the mental game and reaching your full potential. Today's sponsor is Well Traveled. Whether you're grinding through long days, pushing your limits in training, or constantly on the move, your body takes a toll. Fatigue, hectic schedules, and changing environments can weaken your immune system. Give it a boost with Well Traveled, a drink mix with clean, clinically proven ingredients for immunity and no added sugar. It's a smarter alternative to Emergen-C. Just open a packet, mix with water, and enjoy. Right now, save 25% when you use the code ALLSTAR on the Well Traveled website. That's gowelltraveled.com/discount/AllStar. Again, save 25% when you use the code ALLSTAR on their website. Stay well on the go with Well Traveled. If you've been listening to the podcast and you've found the episodes to be informative and or interesting, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast. I will be releasing episodes weekly, so subscribing to the podcast is the best way to stay up to speed on when the new episodes are released and to make sure that you don't miss any of the content. Also, liking each episode, if you have in fact been enjoying the content, as well as leaving any questions or comments that you may have down below, also go a long way in supporting the podcast. So thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show.
We're working on it.
You know, persistence over resistance kind of a thing. It sounds like you have a pretty good mentality already. I mean, as far as like mental resilience.
Yeah.
Like from what Noelle was telling me about you, like the things that you've been through. I'm sure we're going to talk about some of that kind of stuff today, but it sounds like you've been kind of through the ringer. And
it's been a lot, especially the physical stuff.
Continually going through that kind of stuff. So why don't you just kind of start by introducing yourself for our listeners a little bit, who you are, sort of where you came from, a little bit about your athletic background, the sports you participated in, kind of, you know, your journey, and then we'll kind of get into it a little bit from there.
Sounds good. Yeah, so I'm Brian, born and raised in Norwood, Mass. Like, it's a town just south of Boston. Sports growing up, like I'm sure you're the same, most people, just that was all I ever did. Like, whether it was wiffle ball, like just throw us a ball, we'll figure it out, we'll play something. So I did mostly football, basketball when I was in high school. We did get a lacrosse team, which I was like trying to get, and that was kind of a struggle with our baseball coach. Wouldn't allow it. But once he was out, got lacrosse. I started doing lacrosse. Played football in college, so I was a walk-on at UMass Amherst. They were 1AA at the time. We're 1A now. Now we're not great. But when I was there, we were actually good in AA. So I was lucky enough to walk on there. My junior year, we lost the national title game, which that was rough. I lost to App State. And then when I was done with football in college, I thought, like, I was a grad assistant, I had shoulder surgery. So I'm like, I'm never going to work out again. Like, I'm just going to chill. And then I just got so bored pretty quick. Played semi-pro for 2 years before I moved here. Semi-pro was great. Competition's not as good, but I mean, like, I was lucky enough to go against some of my old teammates. There was definitely like a solid amount of talent in D1 guys, but it's definitely a drop off from college. But going from a walk-on where you don't really see the field to being one of the better players, like, obviously that was a big difference for me. That was a fun experience. Moved here, ended up having hand surgery, so my finger, like receiver fingers, don't really work. Okay. So I was like, all right, I probably shouldn't do football anymore. I started going to P360. Performance 360 is just like a gym in San Diego. And that was when I started I was like, I'm going to power lift. I'm going to do all this. And then this injury, knee, hip, and then I've been through the ringer the last decade. I had those 4 surgery in 4 years, mostly with my leg. Everything's torn still. So they gave me some crazy hip osteotomy where they break your femur and like saw it in half, put a metal rod in it. So that was supposed to fix my hip stuff. Didn't work. So then he said hip replacement. I'm like, I'm not doing surgery again. So I need double hip replacement at some point. I'm honestly impressed with how everything's held up for the most part within the hip and the knee. I'll probably need to replace everything at some point, but the last 4 years, I've been dealing with it. Like, it's some of the stuff's day to day. Like, I'll wake up, my shoulder doesn't work. I'll just not work out. Next day I'm fine. But yeah, I definitely can't work out how I want, but I've found ways to kind of get around it, still get a sweat in. Like, I've only ever really lifted for strength. I never really cared what I look like or trying to cut the body fat for the abs or any of that. I just, hey, let me outlift like my friend next to me. So that's where we're at now. I've actually got a new injury. I had an MRI yesterday on that.
Okay,
So
exciting.
I'll break the results next time I'm on.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see what the doctor says on Monday.
Yeah, so you don't have the results back.
No, they said like Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, it sounds like, I mean, that was the good story for sure. I mean, as far as like quantity of information, right? You've played sports your whole life. You've always been into athletics. You've probably, I'm guessing, always been kind of a competitive guy, not really liking to kind of just sit around idly. Yeah. I heard you kind of say you got bored a little bit when you did take a little bit of a step back from any sort of athletic participation. So it's always been football, basketball, probably played all the youth sports when you were younger, played college level football, then semi-pro. And, you know, you did some powerlifting in there. You've had a whole host of injuries, many of which probably came from football, if I had to guess. So you've got a lot of surgeries and you're dealing with a lot of ongoing pain basically. Mentally, physically, emotionally, probably all of that.
You got it.
Does that sound about right?
Yep.
Okay. So let's talk about football and then powerlifting. So you played football at the college level. So you said division.
They were 1AA.
So like, what does that mean exactly?
Football championship subdivision now. It's the FCS now.
Okay. As opposed to FBS or what's the okay?
Yeah, so FBS is like Big Ten, SEC, it's all that stuff. So we're like a step below. The main difference is you get less scholarships. So I think it was 30 less when I was in college. I don't know what it is now. But the depth of like linemen specifically that you can just roll out. So like we'd play 1A teams, we'd compete, we would play well. Like we lost by 1 to Navy. We were down a couple to Michigan in half, but they can just roll out 12 D linemen in a game.
Yeah.
We don't have that depth.
Yeah.
Because skill guys, like I was a receiver, dime a dozen. Like there's so many good skill guys at every level. The biggest difference is like the number of scholarships you can have and then just the depth. And then there's some like you need a certain amount of fans, you need certain money brought in. So some teams are AA. So we were in the Atlantic 10 when I was there, and then we switched to Colonial my last year, my senior year.
Okay.
So that was like the conference we were in.
So this was Division 1. So it's above Division 2. It's but below Division 1.
So like Atlantic 10, like we had New Hampshire, James Madison, blanking on the teams, Richmond, Vermont. And like we were in the best conference in AA. So there's 16 playoff teams. We had 5 of them.
Right.
So
Okay. So let's talk about the mentality of competing at that kind of level. Like physically, you're what, 6'2", 6'3"?
6'2", like 200.
So you've always had a kind of like that athletic frame, that athletic physique. You probably excelled in basketball. Did you play baseball as well?
Like Little League, and then I switched to lacrosse like 8th grade.
Okay, lacrosse.
Lacrosse
so you've always
was more physical. I liked it better.
For sure.
Yeah,
so you've always been kind of you've liked that physical contact. So you've kind of been into that kind of a mindset, and there's some of that as well with the powerlifting, just the physicality of the sport. Right? It's not like a finesse sport at all. It's like, let's fucking lift heavy weights, right? So, but mentally, talk to me about that. So was there a mental drive to excel at football, or like, talk to me about kind of the mentality of competing at these different levels of football or sports, generally speaking?
UMass was tough. Honestly, I was probably too stupid to realize like how good of a program I was walking into. I didn't know the A10 was like the top conference in AA. My freshman year we were okay, and then I walked on in the spring. Like I went to a party school, I didn't party, so I was just bored, and I was like, oh, let me go this walk on tryout. there were like 80 guys there. They took 5 of us. I played in the spring, and I remember specifically, and like I coach high school, and I tell my kids this all the time, especially kids who want to play at the next level. Our spring practice, when we were just in like helmets, was more competitive than like any high school game I'd ever played. And that's when I was like, oh, I might be in trouble. And like you brought up my frame, but like I'm not, even now I'm not, I mean, I've lost weight obviously with all the surgeries, but going in freshman year, like I was not big.
You were small compared to the other.
I mean, I was 6 feet, but I was a twig. I didn't really lift
Sure.
a ton. My freshman year, I put on like 20 pounds of muscle, but when you have a strength coach, that helps a lot. So like I was definitely kind of a late bloomer with that. But yeah, just the competition level of practice day in, day out in college was kind of a big wake up. Like I did okay, but my skill set, I wasn't as consistent as everyone else. Like I could make plays, but there were times I'd get blown up a lot. So I just don't think I like understood how high a level that was when I was there. So I didn't really pay attention to it. I was just more nervous. Like, just don't make a fool of yourself. Like, don't drop this pass, like whatever. So that mental aspect was there. It was in the back of my head. Like I was more just nervous most of the time. And like, honestly, more so probably in the locker room, especially that first semester when I was doing spring ball, because the team had been together all fall. I'm coming in with a handful of walk-ons, a handful of transfers in the spring. We don't really know anybody. Like we're in our little, like we had a specific walk-on area for spring ball, and it was just like us 6, and like there was it. And I was just trying to get to know like the guys and try to become a part of the team. So it was like the mental aspect of that was probably a lot harder than like football's football. You just go play. Like, yeah, I was nervous. There were some very good play. Like we had a lot of guys get drafted and go to the NFL. Like half my receiver room played in the NFL. So like I knew where I was at. But I ended up dealing with it like mentally. It was fine. Powerlifting, to me, it was easier because you're just doing your 3 lifts and then your accessory movements. And the P360 gym I went to, like they programmed it all. I just like meathead, hey, lift that, cool, got it, and that was all I had to do. So the grind of it, because you're going to see such less results when you've been lifting for a long time. So new people come in, they're putting up 40 pounds on their deadlift in a month. I'm like, we can't, like, we've been lifting forever. We're not getting that type of improvement. So just trying to stay steady and being able to be okay with those 5-pound increments over a month. Like, that's probably the more challenging part, I think, just with you're doing something for so long. Like, you're never going to see those big gains like you did when you, like I did my freshman year when I had a strength coach show me how to power clean. And then I'm like, oh, damn, I just threw on like an extra 30 pounds. So
it was incremental improvements at that time.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about when you were kind of slogging through the trenches of football, right? When you're playing against these guys that are bigger than you, faster, stronger, smarter, they've been in the program longer. You walked on because you had that competitive edge and you thought, oh, maybe I could do this. Did you ever think about just like walking away when you were getting injured and guys were just like, probably concussions? Like, talk to me about that. Or were you just like in it? You're like, no, I'm doing this.
No, yeah, I was in it. I was just doing my best. Like, did I think I was going to jump 10 guys and probably start? Maybe not, but I was going to try. And then like you bring up the mental aspect of it. I remember specifically the hardest thing that first semester was figuring out the playbook. Because you go from high school football where it's like, hey, I write 42, like very basic, simplified stuff. And then I get there and it's the guys that have been there for years are making mistakes constantly. And I remember we were drawing up plays on the board and they weren't even close. And like there were a couple I got, and it took me a while to figure it out. I would put the plays in Madden, and that was how I learned the playbook.
Okay.
Because it was 10-word, 12-word play calls.
Yeah.
And that's like the second week of practice.
Yeah.
I like the first semester spring ball, so you get 15 practices. I didn't know anything.
You were lost.
I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Like it was so complicated. But then when I figured out how they were teaching it and just kind of the concepts we were running, and rather than learning a position, just learning the concept, that was when like it clicked. So sophomore year, I at least knew what I was doing, not making an ass screwing up like simple play calls.
I mean, I feel like that's probably pretty standard though, right?
Yeah, probably.
Like the depth of the playbook, the more you advance in really any sport, but football in particular. I mean, it sounds like absolute jargon to the lay person listening. I think I heard Drew Brees or somebody explaining on like NFL Live, one of these shows one time, he like broke down the play calls, and maybe you can talk about this a little bit, but he was basically, explaining that like the first 4 to 6 things that he says are for the linemen, and the next 4 to 6 things that he says are for the receivers, and the next 4 to 6 things that he says are for the running back. So you just listen for your part of the play, and then you hear your part of your play, and you're like, okay, got it. And then you just kind of tune out the rest. Is that true?
Yeah. So I tried learning the whole play call, which was not smart on my end. Like I was just, that's the play. Like I want to figure it out. So ours was broken down motions first. So like just S, ZZ, like whatever it was. And then motion, formation. So I wasn't in motion a ton. Like I was X, I'm usually on the ball. I don't really have to move a lot. But formation obviously changes where I'm at. So like whether it's Kings or Jack or whatever we called it. Then the pass protection and then the play call. So pass protection, it's helpful for me to know because I'll just know, okay, how much time does the quarterback have? But I know that now as like an old person. When I was 18, I'm like, I don't care what the protection is. Like, I just want to know my route and I want to run my route. Then you get the play call, but so much of it depends on what the defense is in. So if they're showing this, I know my route changes. If they're showing this, my route changes to that. Maybe we check to a run. Maybe the quarterback just signals to me. So trying to figure out all that kind of on the fly. That first semester was tough because they gave us a 400-page playbook on day one in spring. And I'm like, I don't know. So it took me a long time to figure that out. And like the coaches were great. My teammates were great trying to help me out. But yeah, I was in shock. Like that first, March to May for spring. I coach high school. I have a lot of kids who
football, right?
Football, basketball, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of kids have the dream of going D1. I don't think they realize like how challenging it is now. But I've had a couple kids lucky enough to go, and I would have that same conversation with them. Like, okay, our playbook's easy. Like I've dumbed it down quite a bit. You want to go to the next level? Let's make it more complicated for you so you can start to learn and like you can be in better shape once you get to the next level. And it was the same thing. I still have my old playbook. Like I'll reference it and go through stuff for ideas or whatever. And they'll read it and they're the same thing. They're like, what the hell is this? They're so lost. So just the more we can give them now, like I'm prepping them, it's going to be nothing like when they get to the next level, but just so they've had kind of the idea of what it takes. And not just physically, but mental aspects probably even harder than the physical. Football's football, sports are sports. Like most of the kids have that. It's just, do you have the mental aspect to take it over? Especially like, hey, now you're in college, you get all this freedom. Are you going to apply yourself?
Right, and we're learning more and more, and part of that is this podcast and these kind of conversations that we're having. But athletes are coming out more and more now with talking about the mental aspect of sports. And historically, a bunch of people used to think that it was just like bigger, faster, stronger. And it is now more than ever bigger, faster, stronger. But people are also realizing how much of a mental aspect there is to performing at the highest level, because everybody's big, fast, and strong. So a lot more of a margin can be gained through the mental edge of stress management, anxiety management, memorizing the plays better, quicker, faster, reading the game better. Like that's going to give you more of an edge than that sort of incremental gain that you talked about in the weight room of going up 5 pounds over the course of a month. That was obviously powerlifting, but I'm just kind of tying the two together. Now, as far as and it's great. I'll just say this before we move on. It's great that you're giving your high school athletes an advantage, a leg up, which they're going to need, because the farther you go in any sport, the more competitive it becomes. So the sooner that you can give them that leg up on reading the playbook or understanding how mentally challenging it's going to be, the more likely it is that they'll be successful. Now, as far as your transition from football into powerlifting, we just talked about kind of the mental aspect of memorizing all the plays and the mental challenges of being with guys that are bigger, faster, stronger than you. Powerlifting is an individual sport. I mean, maybe if you're in a competition, you're sort of competing against other people, but it's a competition in a way that like golf is a competition in that you're not really interacting with the other participants. You're putting up the best score that you can put up, and then you're seeing how that measures up to the other participant, which is very different than team sports like football.
Yeah.
So did you notice much of like a mentality shift going from a team sport like football to something like powerlifting? Just talking about a mental angle here.
I mean, mentally to me, like you're competing, it's just your focus is different. So now I'm only worried about myself. Now I'm just worried about these lifts and technique more than like in football. Okay, I got to go to the weight room. I got to go study the plays. I got to do this. Like I got to take care of my body a lot more. Just like you're taking more hits. Like that's why powerlifting, that switch was kind of good for me because I can really control what I'm doing. The odds of me getting hurt in that are a lot less likely than running across the middle.
Sure, because you're the only variable there.
Yeah.
It's you and the weight.
Yeah.
With football, it's you and your quarterback and your team and the other team and a multitude of other factors.
Yeah. And I'm dumb now. Like I'm a lot better trying not to lift heavy and do those things. But like you said, I'm competitive. I still want to beat my deadlift from a month ago, even though it's nowhere near what I've done in the past. I'm good overall about not pushing it to that length. Every once in a while, like anybody else, maybe I'll PR today, and then it was a terrible idea. But like powerlifting, I can bail out of a lift if I know I'm not going to hit it, or I can just not push that next set. Hey, it's not the day. Football is a little bit tougher with that. Just the competitive edge. I never want to sit out, and I was that way with lifting for a while. But now I've gone through so many different things. Like yesterday's a good example. I was front squatting. Felt good, even though like I have a neck thing now, so that's why I took an MRI. It was a nerve maybe. So I'm like, screw it, I'll front squat, see before what the doctor says. Got to my next set, felt okay. I was like, let me jump up the weight, even though I said not. And then of course I went up the weight. I did 3 reps. I'm like, we should call it a day on this. So I don't know. It's tough dealing with all the injury stuff. But mentally, like, the powerlifting transition to me, it was competing. I'm competing against myself now and the other people. And I always found it funny because at the gym, like it's a good community. Everyone's hyping each other up. I'm there to hype you up as well. But if we're doing a deadlift competition, I'm going to try and beat you. So if you beat me, I'm going to be pissed for a second. And a lot of people didn't really understand that mindset. Like it was a couple athletes that were in the we had one guy who played at Cincinnati, I remember, and he was a lineman. So like he would out deadlift me all the time, but my squat was actually kind of close to him, which I was shocked. I'm like, I should not be squat. Like granted, he probably had a blown knee or something. But when he outlifts me, I'll get mad and people are like, why are you mad? He just did. I'm like, yeah, good for him, but he beat me. I'm pissed. So I think the competitive level, especially at like those type of CrossFit gyms now, it's a great community, but like a lot of us are still looking for that competitiveness.
Sure.
So I'll shake your hand after when you beat, like, hey, you got a better score or whatever. But in the moment, like, yeah, I'm trying to beat you.
Yeah.
So that was always something I thought, I don't know why people are always so happy when they lose.
Yeah.
Like that was always a weird thing to me.
Yeah.
Even though it's still a gym. We're still competing and I don't care what it is.
Yeah. I think really to compete at the highest level of athletics, you need to have that competitive edge. And obviously you want to have good sportsmanship. You know, you see the end of some basketball or football games and some of the guys are going to dap up the, guys on the other team. Maybe they're friends with them. Maybe they're, they maybe are a little bit closer on the end of the spectrum where they're like, don't get as pissed when they lose, kind of a thing. And then you see other guys that are just like walking off the field. They want nothing to do with the other team. Like they're probably hot in the moment. They don't want to say something that they're going to regret or whatever. But obviously to compete at the highest level, you need to have that edge, that fire, right? And so I think to that point, your identity as an athlete, I've talked about this with multiple other ex-athletes on the show. When you sort of are forced to retire, right? You're weightlifting now. I don't know if you're doing competitive powerlifting, but you're certainly not playing competitive football anymore. That fire still burns in you, that competitive edge. And at times in the past, you mentioned earlier in the show today, when you have kind of stepped back from competing, you get bored. It's like that energy needs to go somewhere. And so now you're, I don't know, probably in your late 20s, 30s, right?
Good answer. We'll stick with late 20s.
Yeah, exactly. So you're at that point in your life where you're not really competing as an athlete anymore, but you still have that personality, that identity. So you're channeling that into weightlifting. You're dealing with a lot of injuries. This is a good kind of segue to the next question here. You faced 4 surgeries in 4 years, I think you said.
Yep.
And you're dealing with some more stuff now. You've got some lingering physical issues that affects you mentally, right? What has that kind of ongoing prevalence of injury and sort of physical adversity done to your mental health?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, there's no way around it. I always saw this coming. Like, I remember specifically after a high school game, I couldn't walk. Like, I took a charge and tried to play through it. And we're sitting in the bleachers, like waiting to get on the bus. And I couldn't even get out of the bleachers. Like, I was struggling that bad. So, and I vividly remember joking. I'm like, oh, I'm screwed when I'm 30. And then it hit me even before that. I try to think big picture. I had a great run. Like, I got more out of my body than I should have. I had the opportunity to play in college, play after. I never competed powerlifting. Like, right when I started getting into it, and I was gung-ho on, okay, I'm going to cut 10 pounds. I'm going to compete in this class. And then one surgery, just kind of fell off. There's definitely days like it's just tough, miserable. Just doing what I can to still stay active. Like, I'm still fortunate where, like, yeah, I woke up with a lot of pain today, and like it takes me a few minutes to get out of bed, but I can still go to the gym and move around. I can still lift a fair amount of things. We play basketball with the kids on Fridays usually. So I'm still able to do that. Am I terrified I'm going to tear something and the kid's going to think he crossed me up? For sure. But I'm still fortunate where I'm actually pushing 40. So I'm fortunate where, like, I'm still active enough where I can do those types of things. And for me, trying to really see like big picture and not just like my past, but my next 20 years. I don't want to be stuck in a chair, like hunched over really bad, where I can't move at all. Like, I know I need to take even better care than what I've been doing. And I'm more aware of it now than ever. And even before all the surgeries, I was doing my macros. I was going to yoga. I was doing all this stuff for like preventative care, just taking care of myself. And then, I mean, injuries happen. It just kind of kept happening. I mean, it's never going to be easy from the mental side of it, but I think I do a good job of like, hey, big picture, I had a good run. I got the most out of my body. Like, I overachieved. So that's a win. Just kind of deal with what I can now. So,
yeah. Given all the injuries and all the pain that you're dealing with, both in the past and ongoing, how do you find the motivation to continue, to go at it and to compete and to try and get better? Like, where does that come from?
So I was always like one of the harder workers, motivated. Like, I'd always want to compete and win. Where it came from, I have no idea. Because my parents, oh, you tried your best. And like, I'd come home pissed because we lost or whatever. I'm like, I don't care if we tried, like, we lost. But the motivation, I honestly don't know, because I've been asked that before. Like, how do you, I don't know. That's just what you're supposed to do. So my high school coach probably, but I knew I had that before. But yeah, I mean, to me, I just don't understand, like, why are you not motivated to succeed? Don't you want to be your best person, whether it's an athletic thing or just at work or in your day-to-day life or as a parent? Like, you just want to be the best of you whenever you can. So for me, I'm trying to say that. And for me, being athletic and being like, just being outside, that's something that makes me feel better. Like, that was a big part of the reason I moved here. I don't mind the cold. It's just when it snows for 6 months, I'm stuck inside. And yeah, I can go to the gym for a couple hours, but what do I do with the other 10 that I'm like out? So teaching out here and having a campus that, like, our campus is literally outside. So like, I just walk around, it's December, it's 70 degrees. I get to walk around campus outside, shorts and a t-shirt. Like, even just that type of activity physically makes me feel better. And I'm a lot more okay now where, like, if that's where my athleticism takes me and I just go on long walks, like, I'm taking a long walk at the beach. So that's kind of helped me deal with the mental side of it for sure.
Okay. So you're just motivated by moving your body and being outside and feeling active and not feeling stagnant.
Yeah. I mean, it just, your body, like, my body just feels so much better when I'm moving around. So
yeah,
like I told you earlier, we're on spring break this week. So for me, I can't just sit in my house for 10 hours. Like, in the morning, I'm doing cold plunge sauna just so I'm like walking to the gym and getting out and about, because my body takes such a long time to kind of open up in the morning. Like, it's so tight, so sore. So just being that active person and have constant movement, like, makes me feel better physically day to day. So I just need that so I can, like, physically feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your vision or your perspective of success looked like over the past decade, maybe? Because it's probably changed.
Yeah.
Now that you've moved on from your competitive football and basketball days, you're coaching now, you're trying to stay healthy, you're trying to stay active, right? Has your perspective on success and progress in the gym or in life, generally speaking, evolved? And sort of how has it evolved since your physical limitations are kind of catching up with you?
Yeah. I would say most success early on, I would always just define it by results. Okay, did we win the game? Did I hit this lift? Did I get the job? Whatever it was, like, you're basing it off results. And especially now, like, that's just not always realistic. Like, you can fail and eat it, and that's still success. So, like, I've applied to different jobs. I did everything in my ability to get those types of jobs where I paid extra to go to conferences, like, out of my own pocket. I've gone to other sites to, like, learn from other people. I go on the interview. I call them for feedback. Oh, dude, you were great. We loved you. This guy has been here for 20 years. We're taking him. So I'm like, I did everything I can. So they're like, there's nothing to hang your head on.
So that doesn't feel like failure for you then?
I mean, it does to a point. Like, it sucks. And I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, I'm a failure just because I didn't, like, any job, any career, like, at some point it turns into political stuff and it's hard to get. Or maybe I'm still young-ish. Like, I'm not, like, my body feels old, but for those types of jobs, they want someone who's older, more experienced. So same with lifting. Like, okay, my deadlift was this. I can't get it now. Like, that doesn't make me a failure. Like, realistically, I should be lifting less as I get older. I mean, I hit 505 when I was 32, maybe. I've had knee surgery, 2 hip surgeries. I've had a bunch of other things just recently, and I still hit like 450 the other day. So to me, like, yeah, I failed. I never hit my PR from 7 years ago, but to be able to deadlift that much with all these injuries and honestly lack of medical care, and we can get into a big insurance thing later.
Love a good insurance debate.
Oh my God, it's been rough. But still being able to do that, like, that's a success for me. I squatted 300 after my 4 surgeries. which I didn't think I'd even, and like, yeah, it's 75% of my max, but I was able to do 300 with 2 torn labrums in my hip, constant knee pain. Like, I feel ridiculous because I'm taping everything. I got to tape my hand. I got my knee sleeves. I got I got to wear all this stuff just so I'm not in pain. And I think part of that's the mental part, just taking, like, I don't want to get under a load and throw my back out again, or just my hip pops. Like,
I would say honestly, if you don't mind me interrupting for a second. No. Yeah, you're not PRing based on whatever your PR was 10 years ago, but given all of the adverse circumstances, I would say I'm even more impressed with you deadlifting 450 after 4 surgeries than I would you deadlifting 505 with no surgeries. Like, that's more impressive for me. That's more of a success. And I don't know if you have that same perspective that I do, but it's not strictly about winning or losing or the number that you're putting up, or I don't think that it should be, because you have to take into account all these other circumstances. And it sounds like in the past you would have been frustrated or upset or pissed or sad or whatever that you quote unquote failed at putting up a new PR. But it sounds like you're really kind of onto a new chapter of your life where you're taping everything and wrapping everything and valuing your health a little bit more and still being competitive, but also being a little smarter about it now. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, for sure. And I agree. Like, I've kind of taken that mindset, but I'm still sitting there. I'm competitive. I want, like, damn, I used to do this. Or I've seen people from my old gym shoot up their scores. I'm like, oh, I used to do so much more than that guy. So I'll always have that to a point, but I do think, like, I might have that in the moment, but overall, big picture, I think I do a better job. Like, okay, I was able to squat this, deadlift that, clean this, whatever, with all these surgeries. And more so, like, how many doctors telling me not to do it, or not to even work out, or not. Like, the last doctor I went to told me he can't do anything for me. He goes, I'm sorry, I know that sucks. Don't do anything stupid. Like, he basically told me not to go to TJ and, like, get God knows what.
Oh, yeah. Like,
that was what
some outside medical care from somewhere else.
Because I've gone, like, when I was in college, going into college, I was like, I don't want to do protein shakes. That's like cheating. And then I got to college, I was like, oh, damn, maybe I should take some protein at least. Then I started with all the injuries. So to me, like, I had one doctor like, oh, why don't you take steroids? I'm like, well, I have joint stuff. I feel like that's a bad idea. But if I didn't do it then, I'm like, I'm not going to do it now. But I've done PRP, which helped with mobility. I've done stem cell with my hip. I think it, like, so much of it's just rolling the dice. So I've done PRP and stem. Those have helped, I think. But to go down that road when I'm, like, pushing 40, I just don't think is, like, I should have done it when I was 20. I could have got a better scholarship or something,
What, like taking anabolics or something like that?
Because, like, I've had people just do that. I'm like, ugh, I'm too old to just start that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you weren't, like, invested in doing something like that younger in your career, I mean, you could have changed your stance, but it sounds like you, even to the point of taking protein, like, it sounds like you didn't want to.
Yeah, I wasn't the smartest in high school.
Well, that's, I mean, whether or not that's smart or not. I mean, I would personally say that not taking, for example, like, anabolic steroids is a smart decision.
Yeah,
but
with the protein, I was a little over the top.
Yeah, I mean, more so uninformed, I would say. Let's talk about mental strategies, right? Because you just kind of talked about some different mindset techniques, I guess that you could say, to look at your physical position a little bit differently and have a little bit more of a stance of acceptance. As far as, like, strategies, right? Let's talk about things like visualization, breath work. I heard you mention yoga earlier, so you probably have some familiarization with breath work, self-talk. Do you utilize any specific strategies like those that I just mentioned to help push through things like pain, frustration, injury, setbacks, or anything like that?
So I'm not the best reader, but I've tried reading specifically, like, movement books to, okay, what could I do for this type of pain? what could I do for that? I did try yoga. I've done yoga. One of the old coaches from that gym had her own class, so I'd go to that one all the time. And it was perfect for me because it was a bunch of meatheads just who didn't really do it. And we were all trying to like just work on our mobility, work on that type of stuff. The breath work, I'm not good at. The 5 minutes at the end, hey, just relax and be at one. I can't sit. I'm just looking around at everybody.
Okay.
I can't focus like on that mental breathwork part at all. I had done cold plunge before. I do it a lot more consistently now. So, I mean, that helps with kind of the breath stuff and some of the pain. But just trying to find different things mentally that help with this. Like, it's just hard because I know bottom line. Like, if you hit me with true serum, I'd be like, oh, no, I just want to lift super heavy again. I know It's not the best idea, especially at like this age. But you're always trying to push yourself, always trying to get better. So for me, 1% better shouldn't be related to how much weight I'm doing. So I think trying to understand that mental aspect of it has helped me a lot, specifically the last couple of years, like after that last surgery I had. Because the last surgery, all the ones before were scopes. So day in, day out, takes a couple months, whatever. The last one I was in the hospital 4 days, crutches like 6 months, and recovery was like over a year. And I mean, technically, I guess I'm still recovering from it. But I want to avoid that. That was a miserable experience. Like I had to sleep in a brace for my leg that rotated. So like my leg was bending and moving because I couldn't move it on my own. Like I do not want to go down that road again. So trying to stay 1% better mentally with those types of things, that's what I try to focus on. But we'll have those lapses where we try to lift heavy, you know?
Okay. Are you saying negative things, that voice in your head?
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying negative things to yourself? Are you saying positive things to yourself? Are you encouraging yourself? Are you journaling? Are you doing any of this kind of stuff?
Positive and negative, it's both for sure. Like there are days, the last month's been hard. So they think it's a pinched nerve, but they don't know. So
The latest one with the neck.
But that doctor was great, and actually, because he was supposed to look at my forearm, because it's been like elbow shoulder stuff, which I've had before, and he just goes, no, we think it's the neck. But finally had a doctor who said, let's do what we're supposed to do and like fix you rather than, oh, it's not my specific body part, I'm going to move that. So positive, negative, I mean, I have good days and bad. I'm sure most people are the same way. Trying to stay positive is hard. When the hardest part is when I go to the gym and I'm on a day where I literally can't lift anything. So like my shoulder's numb, I can't push. So I can maybe squat, but then like the bar hurts my neck. Trying to find like, okay, maybe I'll do leg extension. Hey, I can at least do leg extension. I can do whatever. Like my elbow's a little better. I did a curl the other day. I hadn't done one of those in a while. But yeah, trying to stay with the positive and negative stuff. The journaling, I tried. I actually did a gym challenge in January for 2 months. It did well. It is a nice way to kind of remind myself of the good things that I have, things that are going for me, things that I'm doing well, things that have challenged me on like a day-to-day basis. I tried doing 3 different things a day. Trying to find 3 a day for 2 months was a lot. So that was kind of challenging, but also the things I would repeat, I'm like, oh, I do have it nice, or like I do have a lot of extra opportunities or good things going for me. So as much as I do want to harp on the, oh my God, I'm hurt. This sucks. I want to lift. I want to do this. I want to go run, whatever. I still have a good amount of things going for me. So it's kind of a nice reminder, being able to journal it and like remind myself of that.
Yeah, so I would say just kind of trying to take a look at the silver lining of things rather than the black clouds. Like, yeah, you've got a lot of pain and injuries and surgeries and limitations to what you can do, but those are going to be there regardless.
Yeah.
So allowing yourself to focus on the positives like, hey, I can do leg extension today, or I can do curls today, or I can do whatever else that it is today. Like, I'm in pain, but it could be worse, that sort of thing. So I'm not trying to force anything upon you, but I'm just like hearing you say some things that there are some positives there. And these are a lot of people struggle with the mentality and the mindset. And I've had some injuries and some ongoing things myself. I'm in my mid 30s as well. So it's just a natural fact of life that as we age, things are going to catch up with us. So I definitely kind of empathize with you there with the ongoing struggles, but it doesn't really serve us necessarily to focus on the negatives. They're going to be there. So we just try to focus on the positives as much as we can.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the most difficult part about dealing with those injuries? If you had to say, like, is it the loss of strength? Is it that you've had to change your goals? Is it just the ongoing pain?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what day you asked me. I feel like that could change a lot. The pain is rough.
Just chronic pain.
Yeah, the mornings are tough. Like, getting out of bed every day is
stiff,
very tight. Feet hurt, back hurts.
Is this like a dull pain,
shoulder
sharp
shooting
pain? Sharp shooting pain.
Yeah, it's every day.
Every day.
And that's nothing that's changed. And there are days I'm like, oh, well, it was worth it. And I would go to, when I had my hip thing, I'd go to physical therapy, and my hip surgery is not normal I was 34 or 35 when I had it. So I'm in PT with like a bunch of older people, like 70. And they're like, oh, was it worth it? Would you let your kid play? I'm like, no, absolutely. Like, it was worth it. So I had a good run. The mental part's hard. When I'm dealing with the insurance and the lack of coverage and doctors telling me, like, don't squat ever again. That was when I was 26. I was 26. He said, don't ever squat. I'm like, I feel like that's bad advice. Just getting denied for different coverages.
That's a whole different
thing. Trying to go through that, and I go weeks and weeks without a response. So when I had my first knee surgery into my first hip, that was brutal with insurance. And like, I wouldn't get calls back, and I was pissed, but I still feel like I behaved towards them in a respectful, like, man, I'm like, hey dude, I'm not sitting here cussing you out like I know other people do. I'm not degrading you. I'm just saying, like, I can't get a response from anybody. I'm trying to set up an appointment. Like, multiple times they forgot to send my results, and I couldn't get an appointment. So now something that should take 2 weeks took like 4 months because, oh, our bad, we forgot to send your file. Like, something as simple as
quote
that.
unquote forgot to send you the file.
So they forgot to like send my MRI referral or my doctor referral to like see the specialist. So dealing with that is so frustrating.
I can imagine.
So like, and that's why I've spent so much out of pocket. I've gone to different medical groups. I went to LA to see some movement specialist, and they it was cool. They had all these like cameras set up, and you plant on like little platforms, and they measure your like how you plant and stuff, and like your agility and all these different things. But that's when I get frustrated because the guy went through my results. He goes, that's one of the better scores we've ever seen. And I'm like, well, my whole body hurts. Like, can we, and that was when I learned, like, okay, I'm quad dominant, do more hamstring stuff, do more of this. And then like my trunk was just kind of like a little forward in some things. But like, I got such specific detail, something you're never going to get from like your normal insurance. And then you go to physical therapy. Here's a band, stretch with the band. Like, that stuff doesn't help us. Like, we're more athletic. We're trying to be productive in the gym and be more active in life. When I had my hip surgery, I was doing the max weight on the first day of PT. And they're like, oh, you're doing great. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to lift more than this 10-pound case. So, yeah, the insurance stuff was tough. And then, yeah, day to day, going into the gym, and there's 2 squat racks, and then to see this guy squatting like 600, and I'm sitting there doing like mobility on the bar, into box squats with like lightweight. Like it's frustrating for sure, but I've done better at like, hey, don't compare to others because we're all competitive. We want to do better. Like when you're on the treadmill, you're trying to beat the guy next to you. But I know where I'm at, and I know, hey, doing this lighter weight, doing the band work, doing all that, that's what I need. So, I mean, maybe one day I get back to that heavy stuff, but at least now I'm constantly moving and I'm active. So those days where I'm doing a lot of the rehab in the gym, but like those are tougher times too. So I think it's more like when you ask me, wow, which is the harder part?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you've developed a good amount of patience over the years. It sounds like, older Brian might have been a little more frustrated or aggravated or pissed off about the lack of an answer or results, this kind of thing. I know earlier you said when you tried to do yoga, it was difficult for you to do the savasana at the end, kind of just the corpse pose, the relax, breathing. Do you do anything to ground yourself when you're feeling like angsty or agitated or irritated? Like, are you doing any meditation? Earlier you said you like to go for walks, do you do any kind of mindfulness exercises? Are you doing anything to kind of like ground yourself, come back to the present, relax a little bit? Are you doing any of that?
I mostly just like when I sauna and plunge now, I try to be more conscious of like my breath work. And even in sports, I knew my breath work wasn't great, and I'm just like gassed at times, or I'm not like breathe in, breathe out slowly, like not regaining myself. So trying to focus on that in the sauna and plunge, and like my posture. So my massage therapist always yells at me like my posture's garbage and whatever. So I'll consciously be in the sauna, like, okay, shoulders up, shoulders back, deep breath in, deep breath out. Like I'll try to focus on that rather than slouching over and like just staring at my phone when I'm in there.
So you have some more awareness of it now, maybe than you did before. So it sounds like you've developed a bit of a growth mindset, and you're coming along now in your 30s, right? Certainly more so than your 20s. And as the physical attributes deteriorate, as they do with all of us, unfortunately, you've got a lot more injuries maybe than the average person does. But it sounds like you're moving the needle more towards awareness and the mental health and the, that side of the coin. Would you say that's true?
Yeah. I mean, to be athletic, I have to do that. I can't go back to when I was 20 and just go lift heavy, not stretch.
Run through walls,
run around.
And
literally ran through
treat your body like shit.
Exactly.
Do it again the next day.
Yeah. So I know if I want to accomplish anything, I can't do that anymore. So I have to take more of a psychological approach to it.
How do you design your workouts now? Because you are so competitive, you want to hit your PRs, right? But you have to design your workouts now to stay both safe and challenged, because you don't just want to go in there and be lifting 10-pound weights here and there and just like, whatever. Yeah. Like you want to be challenged, but you also need to be safe too. Do you have a coach, or do you design all your own stuff yourself? You still going to classes? Talk to me about that.
So that CrossFit type gym I went to, I had to stop going, and like my massage therapist, I knew her from that gym. She's been helpful for me, like from part of the mental aspect of it too. Stop going there because you're just going to try to compete with Canner and like these other guys, and that's when you're going to hear. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. I've tried other coaches, whether it's straight up physical therapists. I went to one fitness program type place. Had a trainer there. That was okay. I need such specific things. Me just going to a random trainer at the gym usually doesn't help me, because like if you give me the program, I'm going to do it, but I have so many accommodations I need, so it's tough. I went through Active Life during COVID, which is kind of like a rehab type things, and that helped with a lot of my mobility and some other stuff, but my workouts were now like 4 hours, which during COVID was sweet, because I could do the 2 hours of like mobility stuff and then just to go do a normal workout. Now I use Chalk app which is like, it's a gym out of Costa Mesa, and they're kind of known nationally. I was doing the CrossFit type workouts, which I love, but my gym, it's tough to do those just from a gym equipment standpoint and having that space. And with all the stuff I've been dealing with, me doing a bunch of thrusters and then a bunch of pull-ups and all this stuff and just quick torque on my shoulder, like I know that doesn't work. So the last 6 months I've been doing like a full body, so doing different muscle every day, or doing the same muscles every day. It's definitely not as fun. I at least get some heavier stuff with like a deadlift or a squat, but I'll amend a lot of it with the reps. So if I'm benching, like I could do 225 a bunch, but my max was 265, which never made sense. It was just like my shoulder can't. I've always had like bad shoulders. That was my first surgery after college. So those types, I'll just do high rep. Try not to do the 1 rep stuff, 3 rep stuff as much now. So a lot of it's going off that program and amending. Like a lot of the reps are just subbing out some of the exercises.
Do you find other ways to stay mentally challenged and engaged because doing so physically is so hard for you? Like, I'll give you an example. I had another former football player on the show a few episodes ago. Brant Pfeiffer was his name. He also played D1. Now he's a golf coach and he DJs, right? So he does these other things. You're doing some coaching as well. So you can probably channel some of your passion for athletics and competition, kind of living vicariously through these other athletes, right? But are you doing anything that's not physical, that's challenging for you mentally, that you can compete with other people?
So like I teach high school. I ran a leadership class for like 11 years at my school I'm at now. And that, like, we competed with ourselves because, okay, we're trying to get better attendance numbers at these events. We're trying to raise more money. So like we're always trying to compete in that aspect. And then even just in class, like we would do competitions, team building stuff with the kids. And like I jump right in. I'm trying to beat you for that.
So that probably fills your bucket a little bit, right?
And I worked so many hours there. So there'd be days I'd be there 16, 18 hours. And we had a nice weight room. So like I'd kind of sneak off for an hour, get a lift in, and then come back, do my stuff with the kids, whatever. So all my work stuff definitely keeps me occupied and gives me challenges to do and to kind of accomplish. And then the last 2 years, I've been trying to get a different position. So I've been spending a ton of time focusing on that. I was looking at getting like a PE credential. So studying for the PE test, which is a lot harder than you think it would be. A lot of it's like psychological stuff.
So you would say academically, educationally, you're challenging yourself because you're trying to advance in your career.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest, as I mentioned with the former football player Brant, he went into DJing, and actually he referenced Shaquille O'Neal, the Hall of Fame basketball player. And he said, I actually didn't know this, he said that Shaq has actually said that DJing in front of a large crowd of people is the only thing that comes close to the sort of competitive adrenaline that he got when he played basketball in the NBA. It's like a performance, right? You're performing for people and you're up on stage and people are looking at you and it's kind of that adrenaline. So I don't know if you get that with anything in your career. Probably teaching high school maybe doesn't rise to that level of adrenaline and competition, but some people start businesses. That's a big challenge for them. So it sounds like maybe you're channeling some of your energy into academics. Yeah.
So like we ran the pep rallies. So, and like those are 1,500 people in front of us put on a show. So like that was always fun and exhilarating.
That get the juices flowing a little bit.
And then we had a very good basketball team for a while that we made a couple deep state runs. And like those were some of the most fun games I'd been a part of, even as a player.
You feel like you're really in the action when you're coaching?
Yeah. We had a game, I remember, in Fresno for state playoffs, and that gym was packed 2 hours before the game. Like they were almost at full capacity 2 hours before. The whole town was there. It was a crazy Hoosiers type environment. Like we were right on the court for our the bench, and I remember the kid threw down a dunk on the other team, and I thought the backboard was going to break. I thought the roof was going to blow off the gym. Like slammed it home, and then we came back and won at the last 6 seconds. Got a steal layup. We ended up winning.
Wow.
And like that would. And to see that for those kids, who I had those kids in class, we had those kids for 4 years. Like that was an awesome experience.
You were just having wild swings of emotion, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So like that was great. And then I also host events. So some of the DJ thing, I host events, like charity type stuff. So I just help out my friends in like the restaurant business, and I host different types of things. So like we're doing a pickleball tournament in a couple of weeks.
So this is ongoing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool. So there are some other things you're doing.
I host all those. So they give me a mic and I just like crack some okay jokes, I guess. So doing that in front of the crowd, I mean, it's no college football game, but it's something that like I certainly enjoy because I've been doing that basically since I moved here, doing those types of events.
Okay, cool. Looking back on your career, right, in football, in basketball, when you played as an athlete, what do you wish that you had known about mental performance that maybe you know now? Whether it's mental performance or injury recovery or taking care of yourself, what do you wish that you had known earlier in your athletic career that you think would have been helpful for you?
I mean, injury recovery has just come so long, even in the past like 10 years. And there's such a bigger focus on taking care of your body. And like when I was in high school, hey, tape it up, get back out there. Now we have like the Normatec boots, we get the game readies, we got the Theraguns, the ice bat. We have all this stuff just at the high school. So these high school kids have all these different advantages now, just like technology's come a long way, science. So just knowing all those things about taking care of your body and doing preemptive care rather than waiting for a game, putting my body through the ringer, and then like not being able to walk after, and like, all right, I got to go do it again Monday. I probably treated practices like too hard and didn't see the big picture of the season. And I think a lot of coaches did that. Like high school coaches back then, like practices they try to keep it as intense, but a lot of it's just like, hey, you screwed this up, hit the baseline and run, which we need to do that every once in a while. But hey, we just played this overtime game. We probably shouldn't be doing all these extra sprints for whatever reason. Taking it lighter in practice would probably help, because I mean, there were times like I probably shouldn't have practiced, like I was hurt, whatever. I'm like, oh, I'm not sitting out. So taking that preemptive care, I would definitely think would be like a big advantage or something I wish I knew then. And then, I mean, it sounds simple, but just simple stretching and doing different mobility work. Like, cause for my body frame, my mobility is good, but like my shoulder's never been able to really move. Like overhead, anything like snatch, I can't really. Dumbbell snatch, I'm good. Overhead, barbell, never really happened. But it takes so long to kind of get that mobility. So trying to focus on that in like the beginning of my career, not that I was trying to snatch in high school, but just working on those different movements to kind of get a full body routine rather than focusing solely on one sport. And like kids now, most of them just play one sport. And like we have basketball players who are, I've seen them like kind of destroy their knees because like they're just constantly doing basketball and playing in club. We had a club tournament last night, and the kids are playing like 3 games in a row, some on multiple teams, like whatever. And that's the only thing they do. And like they treat the club like it's in season. So they're just constantly playing games. They're doing nothing to recover. They're doing nothing to strengthen. And that could lead to a lot more stuff down the line. So like for younger kids that are doing that, that's something I always kind of give them a heads up. Like I'm begging kids to play volleyball right now. That just helps your vertical. Like I think my vertical leap went up like 8 inches in the one season I played. So trying to stay active in multiple sports, and like I did that, but that's something I don't think kids are doing as much. And that's definitely something that kind of hurts kids now.
So you would say, as far as things that you wish you knew when you were younger, these are sort of both mental and physical, preparing more ahead of time. So sort of that prehab, like you were talking about. In other words, not waiting to get injured in order to do something about it. So working on and this ties into the mobility, the strengthening ahead of time. So that also ties into the cross training, so that you're not just like slamming your knees and your ankles doing the same thing over and over and over again. You're cross training, preparing your body for multiple different circumstances. The other thing I heard you say was taking a little bit more of like a wide snapshot. So like stepping back, taking like that third person perspective. In other words, stepping out of your own shoes and looking at the season as a whole, instead of just this practice, just this game. Like, how can I better prepare for the whole season, my mind and my body, taking a day off here or there to rest, as opposed to hitting it immediately the day after we had a double overtime game and then just getting back to it because we unfortunately lost and the coach, wants to punish us. Maybe it's time for a rest day. That's actually going to help us perform better in the future.
Yeah.
So mentally and physically, I think those things both tie into everything that I just said. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
What advice would you give to other athletes, especially former athletes, who are struggling to stay active, right? Maybe they're struggling with injuries. Maybe they're struggling to stay positive, right? Because they're dealing with these injuries, because they've lost their identity as an athlete. What advice would you give to other athletes, especially former athletes, dealing with those things that you're dealing with right now that we've discussed?
And I know it's kind of like a hacky answer, but like try to stay positive. If you don't, and you dive into that negative mindset, like you're in trouble. And like I went through that for a while, and it's so easy to focus on the lack of care you're getting, just the pain you're in, like whatever you're physically able to do, like be grateful for that, and then try to find ways to negate whatever negative things happening. So like for me, if I'm struggling with a lot of joint pain, okay, what can I do to kind of strengthen my joints? And if that takes a lot more mobility and less lifting, then so be it. Because like I know, like I have friends who just sit on the couch all day and like they're in great shape, or their body's not in pain. They're not in great shape, but like they're not in a ton of pain, but they're okay sitting around all day.
These are ex-athletes.
No, I mean he played in like
former
just
teammates.
Friends. No, just like friends I have now.
Okay.
Like I have one friend specifically. He'll sit on the couch 10 hours a day, no problem. So he actually recently just started going to that old gym I went to because he was getting to the point where like, okay, I'm getting fat and gross, and he could feel the effects of like just sitting around all day. Like the body needs to be active. We have to move. We have to move. So just being grateful for whatever movement you do have. And I get it's not as simple. Like I'm in a lot of pain every day, but I could be in a lot worse shape. So I'm fortunate enough where I can still walk around. I can still do a little bit of sprints. I can still play a little bit of basketball. I can still do a lot of things. So just take advantage of what you do have, and the things you don't. Pick one thing a day to try to get better at. Because that's the only, like you have to think of it in such a long-term marathon goal. For me, initially, I was like, okay, well, I just gotta, once I'm 30, I'll start to like get healthy, fix whatever is wrong, whatever. But I gotta be doing that like 70, 80. So I can't, as much as I want to go squat right now, if my back's hurting when I can't squat in the morning. Like I know that doesn't work. So that's why like I'll walk to the gym, I'll do the sauna, come back. I just got to move it around because if I go first thing, I'm going to hurt it. So doing what you can to kind of put yourself in a good position to succeed and stay healthy so you can do these things, because Like you really do have to think of it as like a marathon of life. And I want to be squatting when I'm 70. Now, will it be the bar? Probably. But I can't imagine I'm going to get older at this point and be like, oh, I'm okay sitting around all day. So I have to take as much preventative care and much prehab as I can to get all these things done. So in another 10 years, when I do get my hip replacement, like I can recover quick and I can still be active.
Is this a mindset and a realization that you came to by yourself, or did somebody help you realize these things? Like, did you go to therapy? Was it a significant other, or is it just sort of the maturation of your brain over the years and your physical limitations that have led you to have sort of this wiser approach to your health and longevity?
I mean, it's probably a little of both. I'm sure I've had a bunch of people over the years kind of pick and choose, like, hey, do this, do that. Like
slow down a little bit. You need to have a tortoise and hare kind of approach to your life.
When I went to that CrossFit gym, one of the owners, coaches, I was squatting. Like I was on a new pro. So they would have their class and then they'd have like an open gym, and I would stay for open gym, or I would do back-to-back classes. And one of the programs I was doing was like squatting 4 times a week. And he literally like cussed me out. He's like, stop doing that. And like, a lot of the coaches at that gym were super helpful. My massage therapist, shout out Crystal. She like does a lot of body work on me, but I mean, she's been just as helpful for the mental aspect of it too. And more so telling me to not be an idiot. Stop lifting this, stop doing that.
Well, it sounds like she's a positive influence in your life and somebody that you would do well to listen to and are listening to.
She's positive through negativity. She'll just yell at me and then tell me
sometimes that's what it takes to get through.
No, yeah, it works. So yeah, I mean, it's just been a combination of like having supportive people around, and then like myself, I've just learned so much. Like, okay, I had a good run athletic wise. Like I played on teams I probably shouldn't have. I got to play competitively till I was 25. So a lot of people don't get it past 17. So I got a ton of extra opportunities, and not that I'm ever like completely satisfied. I'm just going to stop, but like those were great opportunities. Those were great times. And this is where I'm at now. So, okay, just learn to deal with the different injuries that I've had and go from there and just try to stay positive through it.
Yeah, one thing that actually came to mind earlier when you were talking about your friend or friends that are just kind of comfortable sitting on the couch, shall we say, and getting out of shape, as you will if you're on the couch for 10 hours a day or whatever, is this concept of choose your hard. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. Yeah. So choose your hard, for those of you that may have never heard of it before, refers to the idea that most things in life are going to be hard, no matter what way you look at it. It's just life is hard. And I don't want to say that in a negative light, but what I mean by that is, and here's a couple of different examples. Being in a relationship can be hard, right? You have to deal with the other person and the dynamics of being in a relationship, differences of opinion, schedules, etc. But being alone and single can also be hard. You don't have the mental, the emotional support. You don't have somebody to do things with. You don't have 2 incomes, etc., etc. So being in a relationship is hard. Being single is hard. Eating healthy is hard. You have to do the cooking. You have to do the shopping. You have to clean up. Maybe it's a little bit more expensive, but eating unhealthy food is also hard because it's hard on your body. It might be more expensive because you're buying takeout. Sitting on the couch, while it might sound easy, is actually hard on your body because you're not exercising, you're getting in worse shape, your organs are not going to do as well, your heart health is not going to be as good, you're going to be suffering from health-related issues, diseases, and so forth later on in life. So that's hard on your body. Exercise is hard on your body. It can be physically, right? If you're in pain, it's challenging. Anybody that's lifted weights before knows that it's difficult to lift weights. It's a struggle, right? You're breathing hard. you're sweating, right? All this. So it's this concept of choose your hard. So it sounds like you are choosing the hard of continuing to exercise despite the pain and suffering that you're going through. Do you really identify with that idea of choose your hard?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything you just said, like I'm dealing with all that physically, and that's my hard. Like I could take the easy way out and like just go stretch every day and or not even do that. Like, I mean, I could just sit at home.
Just sit on the couch.
But my back, I know my back would like not survive it.
You'd probably feel worse.
Yeah, I would.
If you did that.
Yeah. So like so I teach, so when we're on summer break, it's great, but I can't just sit at home all day. So like I'll do maybe I'll do doubles at the gym, but my doubles now look a lot different than my doubles when I was 26. So dealing with that stuff. And then same with my job. Like my job's great now. I work super hard, but I do a lot less than I used to. Just the new position I'm in, I'm only dealing with like a couple kids a day rather than classes of like 50. So it's easier, but like I want a more challenging, more responsibilities. I want to be more involved in our school. So like I'm choosing a much harder job where honestly I could go somewhere and get fired. I don't think that'll happen. I think I'll do really good at it. But like I could take an easy way out in that stance as well and just kind of chill my job. Like I leave at 3:30 now, unless we have practice. I haven't done that in a decade.
You're not the type of guy that's going to coast through life.
Yeah, for sure.
You're choosing challenging things because that drives you.
Yeah. And same like drive for success. So I've applied for a handful of those jobs, didn't get it for whatever reason, but still trying. Like I was in beautiful Reno last week for a conference, like solely if I do get a job, now I have resources from that conference where I can use, and now I'm implementing it like day one. That's not something I have to wait a year to like go to the conference once I get a job.
You're probably also a lot more likely to get a job because you'll probably bring that up in your next interview that you have, and you can reference certain things from that conference that will stand out and make you stand above the other potential interviewees and so forth.
That's the plan. I was going over my answers the other day.
There you go. Yeah. Two more things before we wrap up here. First, normally I ask this earlier in the episode, but do you have any social media that you'd be comfortable sharing, websites or pages for your coaching or your Instagram, whatever it is that you'd like to share where people can follow your journey or reach out to you about your coaching or anything that we've discussed today?
Yeah, BGAL6, so BGALS6. That's my Instagram. We joked I should make a separate Instagram account just for all my injuries and just like the progress for that. And honestly, I thought about doing it just like more so keep myself accountable. And just like literally track my progress, but like I've been doing it offline, and yeah, it's a lot of extra social media stuff that I'm trying to like cut on screen time, you know?
It is, but it could be an interesting project for the future or to help, like you said, document your journey, or realistically, and that's part of the scope of this podcast as well. And I'm thankful that you took the time to come here and speak with me today about this, because there's a lot of people going through very similar circumstances to what you're going through, ex-athletes, and we don't really hear about this kind of stuff very much because it's not glamorous to talk about. It sucks, honestly. Like if we put it bluntly, like it's awful. And you only tend to hear about the good stuff, the championships and the Hall of Fame and the good, fun, exciting stories, the basketball game that you win with 6 seconds left and so forth. Typically people don't talk about their negative experiences, and maybe they just want to forget it, or maybe it's just not something that they're comfortable talking about. But I thank you for sharing your story, and I think that would be really cool if you were able to I understand wanting to not spend as much time on social media, obviously, but you know, if you were to take that opportunity to kind of share your story, I think you'd have a lot of people that really associate and identify with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, and even just some of the kids I've had, like my experiences have helped them through things. And like, honestly, I've learned a lot from them. Like I've had kids who've gone through way more challenges and obstacles in their life, and they're in high school, than like you and I have probably ever even thought of. But the physical part of it, for sure, I mean, I've had a lot of people come to me, and that was one of the more frustrating things when I was at that other gym. People commenting social media, oh, hey, like, we know you're hurt all the time, but we respect how you're here every day. And like, I'm off in the corner doing my own thing with like a lighter weight or whatever. And like, as good as that is to hear, sometimes it sucks, because like, I don't want to hear, oh, you used to be that and now you're just working really hard on the side. Like, it's always an up and down thing. I mean, it's life. Like, it is what it is. So just doing what you can to deal with it. And like, I've been fortunate enough where I've been able to help people in similar situations. So if I can help anyone else, like, I'm obviously down, because I've gone through it. It sucks.
Very much pay it forward kind of mentality. So I certainly appreciate that. And I'm sure the people in your life who you've coached and mentored and will continue to do so in the future as you tell your story, and this is part of that, to help other people, like that means a lot. So I thank you for taking the time, for being here today and sharing your story. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that maybe you thought we'd talk about today, or any last words that you wanted to
No,
share?
I mean, honestly, I think we hit most of it. There was a couple stories I wanted to throw in. I think I got them. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation, but I really do think, like, being grateful for the opportunities that I did have. Like, I got to play for a long time. I got to play in some great teams and even some bad teams, but like, you always remember like the memories with the guys and all that, and not to give like a corny answer, but it's true. So I got so much out of it, and it's made me who I am as a person. And that's why, like, I've succeeded in school and work and all these other things, just that competitive nature. I honestly wish kids were more competitive now, because like, we'll lose a game and some of the kids don't even care. I'm like, how do you, like, I go home and I'm pissed for days.
You're more pissed than they are. Yeah.
And I've dealt with it a lot better. Like, I used to be really bad. Like, in high school, I did not handle loss as well. But I mean, that's just growing up as a person. Like, yeah, a high school kid probably shouldn't handle things great. I've learned that a lot with some of the kids I've had. But yeah, just seeing the growth from them, that's something that makes it worth it to me. And so, like, if I can share my story and just my experience with people. I had a friend who tore ACL a month ago skiing. Hey, here's my medical group guy that I went to. It's out of pocket, but they'll do a great job. They'll take care of you. So even just helping people through that, I have plenty of PT resources at this point.
Well, it sounds like you haven't let your setbacks define you. You've let them encourage you to grow into the person that you are today, and will continue to do so in the future. So I thank you again for taking... What's that?
So you have to.
There's
no other option.
Yeah, I mean, it's either just lay down and let life get the better of you, or kind of pick up the pieces. And it sounds like you have no regrets about your journey, and you'd do it again if given the chance. Mm-hmm. So those experiences have shaped you into who you are today. So thank you for sharing those experiences with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And we'll wrap up there. It was great talking to you. Maybe we'll have a future episode in the coming months about other experiences, but for now, we'll sign off. Thanks again, Brian. I'll talk to you again.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.